Are currently 47 new data center proposals across the state of Wisconsin. Today, the Wisconsin Technology Council held a panel discussion about what those centers could mean for you. During the session, a range of energy experts, advocates, and data center professionals talked about the benefits and costs of this data center boom in Wisconsin and what is driving a growing demand.
Everything is being turned on its head by an extraordinary need for additional capacity to meet what everybody agrees is going to be an extraordinary new demand.
Earlier this month, Democratic legislators introduced a new bill requiring data centers to be more transparent about their water and energy usage. It would need to be passed by the Republican legislature and signed by Governor Tony Evers to become law.